Hey, Steve, thank you, and greetings from the U.S. Capitol. I'm literally in a studio in the basement of the U.S. Capitol, so I can attend the meeting here virtually. But thanks for traveling and being here today. I know you're taking time out of your schedule to be here because it's that important. And you are right, this is an important day and an important event. You might remember on August 11th, 2015, the Department of Interior held a listening session in Billings. On March 24th, this year, the Interior announced the 6 locations, they'll be holding scoping meetings that will be an official part of this NEPA process to make their decision. And that was going to be in Tennessee, Colorado, Pennsylvania, Utah, Wyoming, and the state of Washington. However, what you may not know is the comments from that listening session were not included in the Department of Interior's official scoping process and therefore will not be heard. And that's why today's event matters. I can tell you I was shocked to hear that Montana wasn't on that list. At the time, I was on a statewide energy tour traveling across Montana. What I heard was very clear from Montanans. The message to me was save Montana energy, save Montana jobs. You know, coal supports nearly 5,000 jobs in Montana and generates about $118 million in tax revenue each year. It helps fund our schools, our teachers, our roads, our bridges. On March 30th of this year, I wrapped up my statewide tour in Billings with a 2-day energy summit, some of you were there, where I heard about the loss of hundreds of good-paying coal jobs. In fact, if you remember, during the final conversation of that summit with union leaders and tribal leaders on stage, there was a group of radical environmentalists that broke in with a protest, and they were chanting, "Keep coal in the ground." And as the protester chanted, it was 12-year-old daughter of Crow Tribal Chairman Darren O'Kyle, little Evelyn. She walked over to them, and here's what Evelyn said. She says, "If you keep it in the ground, my family will starve." And when she was done, the protesters folded up their signs and they walked out quietly. Montana coal's been attacked on all fronts. Everything from extreme fringe environmentalist groups to the Obama administration's radical efforts to shut down Montana coal production and Montana jobs. And it continues today in Seattle, Washington, where literally, as we speak, the Department of Interior is hosting a scoping meeting, which, by the way, has very sparse attendance. Can you believe that? Seattle, Washington. You know who else couldn't believe it? Former Congressman Doc Hastings from the state of Washington. Let me quote what Doc Hastings had to say. He lives on the western side of Washington. He said, and I quote, "There is hypocrisy in the U.S. Department of Interior holding a public hearing on the federal coal leasing program on June 21st in downtown Seattle, a community far removed from the source of this energy production. Of course, we need to seek views from all sides on such an important issue. But having this hearing so far from America's coal fields is absurd," end quote. Doc Hastings was the former chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee. He called it absurd. I couldn't agree more. You know, Montana has the largest estimated recoverable coal reserves in the nation. By contrast, the state of Washington contains only 0.2% to 6% of the nation's recoverable coal reserves, and they produce zero. To put that in perspective, that's 858 million times less than Montana. In fact, by the Obama administration's own stats, production from the Powder River Basin in Montana and Wyoming accounts for over 85% of federal coal production. In fact, the Powder River Basin coal is among the cleanest in the world. We need to be exporting our coal to the rest of the world. You know, the U.S. consumes only 10% of the world's coal. China, on the other hand, consumes 4 billion tons per year. They consume 4 times what the U.S. consumes. And I can tell you the world is safer and will be safer when we export our coal because we strengthen our nation's security by enhancing our energy security. You know, we rely on coal for our livelihoods as Montanans, so the ability to produce it must not be wiped away. So we had to do something, and that's why we're here today, so that the voices of the people of Montana can be heard. And to ensure this is a Montana family discussion, we invited Governor Bullock, Senator Tester, as well as Representative Zinke and A.G. Fox, because it's imperative that the Department of Interior takes into serious consideration the input of our state, of Montana, of our Indian tribes, and other Montanans who rely on coal for their livelihoods in the Department of Interior's decisions. That's why I also introduced Senate Bill 2938, the Certainty for States and Tribes Act, which protects Montana coal jobs from the Obama administration's recent moratorium on new federal coal leases and ensures that states and tribes have a significant voice in any changes to federal coal, oil, gas royalties, or the leasing policies. Well, it's good news I was able to put these important components in this legislation in the recently passed Senate Interior Appropriations Bill, and we'll continue to fight to get this bill passed. In fact, in fiscal year 2015 alone, the federal coal program generated, listen to this, over $757 million in coal royalties, $1.35 million in rental payments, and over $454 million in bonuses from coal. These are revenues that the federal taxpayer could lose out on under a coal leasing moratorium, and that's simply absurd. So let me tell you how you can make a difference today. There are many of my staff in the room to help ensure your voices are heard. The written comments today will be collected and submitted to the Bureau of Land Management by my staff. Be sure to include your name and your address. For those that want to provide verbal comments, please use the sign-up sheet and state your name clearly for the record, because your comments will be transcribed and they will be submitted. They'll be part of the official record that's so important that the voice of Montanans is heard today. So thank you for coming here today. I look forward to continuing to hear your input in the scope of the programmatic review for the federal coal leasing program. And thanks to you, Steve, for moderating this event. Thanks to our panelists, Senator Dwayne Ankeny, Senator Jim Keene, and Crow Tribe Vice Chair Dana Wilson for their participation in this important event. Steve, I'll hand it back to you.